Okay, good evening, everybody. It's sort of time to start our pre-event series of things to get caught up in what's going on in the area. And I just thank you all for being here. And as you know, people will be joining us, so that's great. All right. Well, we start our meetings with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. So I've asked Rob Chase if he could lead us in both. So why don't we all stand up, remove your hats, and let's get the meeting started.
Okay, God and country, but God before country. So, Father, thank you for assembling us tonight. Help us to have a good turnout and bring your spirit of wisdom and discernment upon us, because we think this is not of you, this Trans-Pacific Partnership and fast track and all these things, and it's kind of takes away from the gift that you gave us. But it's up to us with your help to hang on to it. So fill us with energy and help us once we put our hand to the plow to not look back. And we accept whatever happens, Lord, because we want your will above ours. But please help us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one
nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Rob. I'll take that. So I think most of us know John Beale, and probably many of you know that John has been battling cancer for the past quite a while, and he is sort of accepting what's going on, and I don't think we'll have John with us much longer. I knew John from teaching Constitution classes, and I know that he impacted a lot of you in the room here, and so I just thought we should take a moment to think of John, and maybe you can add how you knew him and what he did as far as really teaching us what the Constitution meant, what the foundation of this country was, what Christianity is, his incredibly strong belief in Jesus Christ and God. So just if you have anything to add, great. And if you don't, just keep John and Margot in your prayers. I don't think he'll be with us too much longer, but wow, has he ever made an impact on Spokane and many other areas. Yeah, Bruce.
He taught me the Constitution class, myself and my son. Took it through step by step. Incredibly selfless man. He also did the 5,000-year lead class. He would always open this up to the public, no charge. Worked hard at it. Did it as a labor of love. And it's amazing how many people that went through his classes. So, yeah, he's a true patriot. One that should be remembered and thanked. We should see him if we can.
Great. Anyone else? Yeah, I was hoping Judy. I know Judy Crowder took his classes, and then she started teaching them, and I'm not sure how many Constitution classes she taught because of what she learned from John, and I think this is just how it goes on. So anyway, just I think probably I see some in the room here that have definitely had a lot of time that they've spent with John Beale. So do remember him. And I know that Margot was putting together a library. It's not a fundraiser per se, but she's just putting a lot of their books out for those that will use them to be able to come by and take them and then use them in your teachings and as you go forward. So if you want to know more of that information, actually you can just do White Pages Spokane John Beale and you'll find out the address. But I believe Margot's ready to do that this weekend. So pretty interesting and great people. So just keep John in your prayers and hope his transition is as peaceful as it can be. So just as you know, Northwest Grassroots also is affiliated with the Tea Party Patriots. And the Tea Party is very, very misunderstood. And of course, they get rocks thrown at them from both sides, so it really gets interesting. So I always like to sort of go over the core principles, which, number one is a constitutionally limited government. Personal freedom for you and your rights. Let's just keep the government limited and really understand what the Constitution says about our personal freedoms. Free market economics, and that's a little different than free trade. And what it means is economic freedom, so that you're allowed to grow jobs, opportunities, keep a little bit more of your hard-earned money, that kind of thing. And then, of course, fiscal responsibility. How in the world can we create a debt-free future for our children the way we're going? It's pretty darn frightening. So those are really the core principles about what the Tea Party really rails against. And so it's something to keep in mind. They aren't the big bad boogeymen that they're made out to be by both the GOP establishment and the Democrats. This week on the floor of the Senate, there's really 5 major items. There's a human trafficking bill, confirmation vote for Loretta Lynch, the doc fix, the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act, and a budget conference, of course, trying to merge the budgets of the House and the Senate together. The confirmation vote for Loretta Lynch, I really feel that she's going to be confirmed. And I really also feel that the Republicans are hurting themselves by delaying it, because it just gives them more of that handle of being against women, being against minorities, that kind of thing. Get it done and over with. The doc fix is an interesting one. The House passed a bill for the doc fix that increases spending in Medicare by 141 point something or other $billion in a 10-year period. And they didn't even follow the pay-as-you-go kind of rule that they've imposed. And so it's just like, let's just do the doc fix. And so now it's over in the Senate, and the Senate is really looking at the pay-as-you-go and how do you offset some of that increased spending. So that might be interesting to see how it goes. You've probably heard about the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act, and this is an act that many in the Senate and in the House feel that they should have the capability of seeing what this deal is all about before the United States enters into an agreement. Seems pretty reasonable. It's not something that Obama particularly wants to have. And at this point, even though you have Democrats signing on to it, like Schumer and people that way, it's still not sure that it would have a veto-proof majority. Not sure that they'd have 67. So again, pretty interesting. And hey guys, you're just welcome to take a seat wherever you feel like sitting. It's fine. Pull out chairs or do whatever you feel like doing. So those are the things that we're sort of looking at this week as far as major items that can happen. Now on the executive amnesty immigration law, order that was put on us in December, the judge kept the injunction in place, blocking Obama's executive actions on immigration. And he also really reprimanded the administration heavily for presenting false testimony to him as far as what they had already done and those kinds of things. So that part stopped. But, and this is the thing that just gets you sometimes, at the end of December, they implemented what's called CAM, Central American Minors Refugee and Parole Program, and it's virtually a new amnesty program that reunites children from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador with their parents. I thought I had the list there. If the parents are approved for deferred action, in other words, they know they're illegal, but they've been deferred, if they're a parolee, if they're, all these other kinds. So if the parents sort of fall into different groups, then they can apply to the government to have their children sent to the United States, and the transportation and the medical clearance examinations are to be paid for by the parents, but if they're considered to be refugees, they don't have to pay, and according to the department, the refugee status is extremely, they're just not going to deny anybody. So you will get the refugee status, your children will be flown here, the medical examinations are free, the assistance is free, all of you guys are paying for it. So it's pretty interesting. So in one hand, the judge is blocking one thing, and on the other hand, we've started a new program. We, of course, have the Iran nuclear deal. We've heard both sides on the sanctions. We've heard both sides on inspections, breakout times, the number of centrifuges allowed. We have absolutely no idea what this agreement is about. And I really feel until it more comes to light that we should just keep paying attention. But, I can't stand here and tell you what's in that deal because I don't know. And I don't think anybody does. Now, as far as the Iran Nuclear Agreement Act of 2015, this is a bipartisan bill with Menendez and Corker, that what they want to do is say, hey, Congress should be allowed to review, amend, and approve or disapprove whatever deal you've made. Again, it's something that the administration does not want to see happen, and so it's another one of those interesting nuances that's going on back in Washington, D.C., and the Iran deal is something that President Obama truly, truly wants to have as part of his legacy, and so he's twisted arms very, very heavily as far as the Democrats that will go along with him go. I think we've all seen what happened to Menendez for speaking out against Cuba, for speaking out against this type of thing. And it was pretty surprising that Schumer sort of went on this side. We'll just have to see where everything falls out. Again, it's more something that is good for the country. We shouldn't be looking at Democrats or Republicans. We should be looking at what is this deal and does it do what we want it to do or not. And then today, of course, we heard that Russia is planning to send anti-aircraft missiles to Iran, which will totally change the whole aspect of if you did want to attack their areas where they're building these things, hey, they'll be shot out of the air. So it's very interesting times we're living in, and I just about fell over when I listened to Tim McInerney, a retired general type person, saying that what we need to do immediately is bomb them right now today. And I'm going, oh my God, what's going on here? So it's a crazy time, guys. We're all living in it, and best to just really vet out what you're listening to and what you're hearing. As you know, the media is going to swing it the way they want. Fox News will swing it their way. ABC will swing it theirs. So if you want to learn things, you need to really dig in and review many different sources. So at this time, what we do, we have what we call open microphone, and announcements concerning issues, what's happening locally, statewide, and nationally, and then we go into upcoming events. So without further ado, I think Rob Chase probably has an announcement. I know that I've asked Tim Ben to step in for Mike Fagan to let us know what's happening at the city level, because Mike's debating Amber tonight on the STA situation. And Dave Moore's here. He might be able to update you a little bit on the Spokane County GOP. So whoever wants to come up and take the microphone, come on up here.
Well, thank you, Cecily. Is this on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
Put it up here.
Okay, how many of you remember the days before NAFTA? Were you on the workforce in the 60s or 70s, 80s even? And back then, I'm from Kellogg, but I remember when I was 17, I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine, and I got on. And, I got, even though as steel workers, I still got slightly less than $3 an hour, but actually I was probably overpaid because I really didn't know how to do anything. I was just a dumb kid, But that gave me the chance to kind of to learn how to do things. A lot of those guys were able to support entire families. The wives didn't have to work because they worked at the mines and they made good money. And it was hard and dangerous work, but those jobs are pretty much all gone. The places I worked at in the 70s are all shuttered up now. And I think that's what NAFTA did to us. Now, it's, if a kid gets on the workforce, he seems like his only option is fast food. And it's hard to, have a livable wage after that to pay back your student loans. And, even now, if you look at the fast food places, you see a lot of people that are older that are working there too, trying to supplement their pensions that are not paying very much. A lot of it points back to NAFTA. And that was, of course, promulgated on us by our President Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, with the '94 Congress. And, it's amazing that Newt Gingrich was really instrumental in this, and it was amazing at the last caucuses, about 5,000 people showed up, and 10% of them were for Newt Gingrich still. I can't believe people haven't woken up to that yet. But, it would be nice to be able to go back in time to 1994 and stop NAFTA. A lot of us weren't quite sure. We heard Ross Perot talk about that giant sucking sound, and, he was warning us. He knew what was going to happen. But, we weren't able to stop it. But we don't necessarily have to go back in time because that same situation is right in front of us today.
Do you have an announcement?
Oh, yeah. I thought I was supposed to speak a little bit.
No.
Okay. I do have an announcement, though. I have...
He's a Toastmaster professional,
right.
and you got to watch him.
I think a lot of these problems aren't Republican or Democrat or Tea Party or progressive. They're American problems. So I have a friend who's here tonight. He just stepped out, Chris Narrison. Oh, he's back up there. Chris Narrison, he's an independent thinker. We all try to be independent thinkers, but we think we can find, if we can get the grassroots common cause to get behind progressives, Tea Party, libertarians, conservatives, liberals, they're all worried about these things in an effort to stop these things, then there's strength in numbers. So I know I was at a meeting last night with the progressives, and they don't think too far off in a lot of things than we do too. They're concerned about what's going on. So Thursday evening at 4:00 at the Spokane City Council chambers, we're going to have a forum and against the Trans-Pacific Partnership and Fast Track. You'll learn more about it tonight, but I'll be speaking, Chris Narrison will be speaking, Jim Robinson, who you all know, will be speaking, and Bonnie Mager will be speaking too, because we all see the threat of this Trans-Pacific Partnership. As far as we know, all of our representatives are for it, but we can still turn that around. The sands are starting to, get to the bottom of the hourglass, but, we can still do something about it. So if you can, the press is going to be there. Show up at 4:00, and the main reason it's 4:00 is so we can get some press time, maybe make it on the evening news. So join me on Thursday night.
4:00, where is it?
At the Spokane City Council chambers. I think a lot of you have been there before. What?
This Thursday, yes.
Thursday, yeah. 4:00. Me, Jim Robinson, Chris Narrison, and Bonnie Mager.
So now Tim Ben's going to be Mike Fagan and talk to us about City of Spokane.
Yes, city. Yeah. Well, they're doing a lot. They're moving fast. They've gained a lot of power, obviously, with the supermajority. Of course, you know about the Sanctuary City Ordinance that was passed. I've spoke on that before here. We have petitions here. We really need help. We're only about a third of the way done with that petition, and we need help getting signatures of city residents. So we have those petitions in the back when you leave tonight, please take some if you know some folks in the city, or talk to Fred. Fred has actually collected a lot of those signatures single-handedly, well over 1,000. Just under halfway there. So yeah, we do need some support on that. Also, last night, Spokane City Council meeting did a ban the box. Now we're into campaign season, and they're going to be looking for support. So they banned the box, which means on city employment, they'll no longer check that box that says that they have a felony record. Well, that's great. Sounds like all these guys are going to get jobs. No, it was really just political posturing, because they still do all the background checks, and so they really lied to all the felons, but that's okay. They're criminals anyways in my book on the city council with the way they operate. So they passed an ordinance that means absolutely nothing, but they gained some supporters and possibly voters with it. Other things that are coming up, we're looking at how you store your vehicles, talking about maybe only allowing 3 to 4 vehicles per property owner in the city limits. I know that was tried, in 2010 in the Valley? Does anyone remember that? Oh, yeah. Yes. So they're going to steal your property, which we shouldn't be surprised with the city council. So as the campaigns get moving forward in the city of Spokane, we should be helping those folks to turn around the city council. Another thing is paid sick leave. They're going to do a punt maneuver, and they're going to create a committee. So the committee will come forward with a paid sick leave recommendation, so the politicians that sit on the dais won't have to be accountable for that ordinance. They'll just say that was the plan. So paid sick leave, that's going to chase out more businesses. And definitely listen to the Right Spokane Perspective on ACN. That's the 6:30 a.m. dial. And definitely Mike and I cover a lot of city issues there. It's 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. It re-airs. So if you're not up early in the morning, you can listen to it at 9 p.m. And if there's is there any questions about anything going on in the city? Because there is a lot going on. I don't know if there's been any rumors about a hostile takeover, but I think they already did that. So.
Are petitions outside?
Yes, petitions are outside, as I said. So also the 2/3 initiative, they're almost halfway across the state, the 2/3 requirement to raise taxes. In the Washington legislature, we're looking for a constitutional amendment so they can't go around us again in the courts like they did, try to hold them accountable for the money they spend and make it a little harder to raise taxes. So if you want to grab some petitions on that, get signatures, that's statewide, and the Sanctuary City is citywide, so please offer your help if you can. Also, donations are accepted for the Sanctuary City ordinance, so we can pay for some more printing.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Anyone else with any announcements? Laura? You're fine.
The last Monday of this month, April 27, okay, this is non-political, okay. Okay, what? The Gonzaga Symphony Orchestra is performing. It's going to feature a string-based soloist, and he's going to be like all over the instrument, so it should be quite interesting. I have a few flyers over there, but anyway, I have flyers about 1/8 this size and different sizes. But anyway, if you're interested in going, it's $13 general admission, $10 for students and seniors. So
Thank you.
it's going to be some good classical music and maybe a little bit more modern than that too.
Thanks, Laura. And this gentleman? And I'm sorry, I don't know you.
That's because I'm not a gentleman. My name is Michael Poulin. I had the privilege of addressing some of you a couple, 2 or 3 years ago on the question of a new jail. And it was because of support from people like yourselves as well as progressives that we managed to defeat the proposal for a new jail. We managed to approve a smaller detention center that was basically a rehabilitation center in town. But the point I'm making is that it was a coalition between progressives and Tea Parties and people on all sides of the spectrum that allowed us to defeat the $500 million new jail, and it is something of that nature that is required to defeat the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, which I cannot strongly enough emphasize we absolutely need to defeat. And one of the points that is sometimes overlooked is that This is supported by all of the people in power. What does that tell us? Democrats as well as Republicans. I can't get any kind of positive response out of Cantwell or Murray, let alone McMorris Rogers. They're all supporting this, and we all need to oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the other thing that I really feel that you need to take a very close look at is the STA proposed sales tax that's on your ballot now. So hopefully you've looked at that carefully and know how your heart feels about that. Dave, did you have anything you wanted to say on behalf of the Spokane County GOP?
Thank you very much. We had a pretty successful Lincoln Day. Thank you for all those who participated in it, and hopefully next year we're going to be bigger and better. But we have come out against the STA proposal, not because we're against buses and transportation, but this thing is going to blow up its own self. It just cannot survive financially. I've done a lot of forensic auditing in the past, and this is a real problem. So I strongly urge you to consider voting against that. Other than that, we're going to try to have some summer functions and continue keeping on. So thanks much.
Good job. Thanks, Dave. Okay, any other announcements or concerning issues? I see a hand up back there, but you got to come up here. John, Christina.
Yeah, I just moved to Spokane, just made it back. Thank you very much. Just wanted to let you know that next Tuesday evening at the Round Table Pizza up on 5 Mile, Karen Carney's going to be discussing the 5-commissioner proposal that she's working on. And for those of you who haven't heard, I think it's pretty exciting to think about, and I hope you can get a chance to come up and have some dinner. We're going to start about 6:30 with dinner, and the show will start at 7 o'clock. So for those of you who haven't heard Karen before, she's really very passionate about the issue, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity to learn more about it. So thank you.
And I'll add my 2 cents worth. We have had Karen here, and I did listen to Karen last time she was at the RLC. And I have to tell you, I have very, very mixed feelings about this. And I figure if we got 3 that we don't like, why do we want 5 that we don't like? So I'm not sure I want to go that way. Just my 2 cents worth, but it is worth listening to. Upcoming events, I guess we'll go to. No, we'll talk about 1366 just a minute, because Tim did mention it, but this is the initiative for tax relief. Through 2013, these initiatives saved us a little over $26 billion. We've had it suspended. They keep adding things. And it's pretty darn interesting, and I'll just read you a little bit here of, this is in suspension now, so it's pretty darn disgusting. So tonight, yeah, I don't need that one, do I? Good. So tonight, the House Democrats are going to vote to impose a $15 billion tax hike on taxpayers statewide. That's gas taxes, car tab taxes, and things like that. And in that same bill, they will authorize Sound Transit to impose a different and additional $15 billion tax hike on Puget Sound taxpayers through sales taxes, car tab taxes, property taxes, etc. That's on top of $13 billion in higher taxes they imposed last week, $6 billion from a new capital gains tax and $2.4 billion in a higher sales tax and $4.2 billion in higher taxes on customers of certain businesses. The House wants to impose and authorize $43 billion in higher taxes, and the Senate is countering with $26 billion. And all Governor Inslee can say is, I want more. So if you have doubts about whether we need 1366 passed and put on and change our Constitution in the state of Washington or not, I think the actions that you're seeing in the House and in the Senate now, as far as how it affects our pocketbooks across the state should have you want to sign that initiative and make sure that your neighbors do too. There are initiatives back there, and I just can't even believe what the state of Washington thinks they're doing. It's crazy.
Those numbers are stunning.
I do have Fred Kidney here, and he's really been helping on the City of Spokane initiative as well as the 1366. Is there anything you want to say?
He doesn't want to stand up because he's been the guy that stood up in front of the Walmarts and collected all the signatures at Lowe's and Walmarts, and he's done a phenomenal job. I think he's gotten probably 1,600, 1,700 signatures on the 2/3 majority single-handedly almost. I think I was there helping him, just chasing the dogs away, but he's done a great job. And Sanctuary City Ordinance, he's collected a lot of signatures on that. I wanted to give a little more history on this 2/3. So we passed it 5 times, and actually it was a couple of Democrat legislators took us to court. I believe Ormsby in the 3rd District was one of the legislators that sued us, and they won in court, and so we're doing like 17 other states and making it a constitutional amendment. And that's really important because all the taxes she was just talking about, they would not get that done in the Senate in Washington if they had a 2/3 requirement. It just wouldn't happen. So if we would have had it in place, our wallets and our houses, our children, everything would be safer. So it's important that we get that put into place because, as you know, we can't trust all the Republicans to vote the fiscally conservative way, as we're seeing happen this year in the Washington legislature.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. I'm just curious if you can go back to those numbers you were reading. Is there a total on that? What they want to increase our taxes by since last week?
Well, I think the House is authorizing, what is it, $43 billion in higher taxes? And the Senate is proposing $26 billion. And that is with our revenues increasing. So we're getting more in revenue, but we're also thinking that we need to raise more in taxes. I mean, they're out of their minds.
And how many taxpayers are in the state of Washington?
6.5 million people in Washington.
Taxpayers.
Taxpayers, I'm not sure, probably about,
2.5?
4 million, I would say. The tax revenue was increased by $3.5 billion this year. Of course, they put most of that into education, McCleary, and those tax increases, those numbers are over 10 years, and the gas tax will be spread out and increased over 3 years.
And I think it can be emphasized enough that the Senate, we have a Republican majority in the Senate. We need to take a look at who those Republicans in the Senate are who are supporting this out-of-control increase in spending.
And also look
I
at the ones that
absolutely
don't
agree.
vote. The ones who, have to go.
The ones that go to the bathroom when the vote's to be taken, yes. Okay. Upcoming events. Sorry, I didn't know about the RLC one. I went to their Facebook page. It wasn't posted. So RLC is next Wednesday, did you say? Next Tuesday, okay. Okay, well, and then the Spokane County Constitutional Republicans are the last Monday of each month. Sherry's Restaurant in Sullivan, their speaker is John Jacobs Schmidt. And then I'm really excited. Matt Shea, along with Northwest you guys are co-sponsoring having Colin Gunn come to the Spokane area. Colin, as many of you probably know, is an award-winning writer, director, producer of a good number of documentaries. We've shown 2 of them here at movie night. One was Indoctrination, and the other one is Wait Till It's Free. But as you can see, he has other documentaries also. So this is going to be, and I put little slips on your paper. I really am encouraging you to come and to support this. It's at La Belle Vie Event Center out there at Appleway and Barker, 7 o'clock. We'll have light refreshments. And it's going to be, Colin's going to sort of talk about why it is that he does what he does. I mean, here's a guy with 8 or 9 children running around the country doing documentaries. And I think if you saw Indoctrination, he went around the country in an old broken down yellow school bus. It was really sort of fun. And so why does he do this? And so he's going to talk to us about that. He's going to show clips of the movies that are really important to him and talk to you about those clips. And then there's going to be a lot of time for questions and answers and interaction. So you're really going to have a chance to meet the gentleman, to get to know him, to ask him questions. I think it's going to be a very, very good evening.
Isn't Trevor Loudon also speaking again over there?
Not that I know of. So that is May 1st. It's a Friday evening. We'll make it a fun evening, so please do mark your calendars, support the group, and I think it'll be a good evening. As far as movie night on May 12th, it is a surprise. If the legislature gets out, as they should, what we're going to do is invite all of them that will attend to come. We'll have a panel. They're going to talk about their experience this last session, their wins, their losses, and that kind of stuff. It'll be a really great event. But if that doesn't happen, which right now it doesn't look like it will happen because of the budget negotiations, it'll be a surprise. So I'm just sort of hanging on, having them let me know what's happening, and we'll see what goes that way.